So I'm going to show you guys today how to replace a track on a mini skid loader, as well as replace the hydraulic motor. I already did the other side, so I kind of know what I'm doing, and I've done this before as well. I've got a new track for it, new hydro motor. I'm also going to check the undercarriage and check these rollers and see what kind of condition they're in. I've already replaced a couple of them recently, but some of these up front might be getting due for it. I don't have rollers with me today, but if I see any that are bad, I'll order some and I'll just throw them on in a couple of weeks or whatever. So you can see in the back here, it's leaking pretty good. You know, you got all this hydro fluid on the ground here. It wasn't leaking much. I would say 2 weeks ago it started leaking just a little bit, and it sort of progressively got worse and worse, and it's really time to get this thing replaced. It's past time. So I'm going to show you the process here. I got to clean out a little bit of this dirt and then show you how to take the tension off of the track, get the track off, and then this is going to be a bear in itself, is getting the sprocket off and accessing the hydraulic motor that's behind there, right? So the hydro motor spins the sprocket, which of course runs the track. I've had to replace one of these before. I've actually tried to rebuild a hydro motor. It doesn't go very well. You put new seals in it, it doesn't work. It'll start leaking again, and it's really truly a waste of time, because what happens is on the inside of these hydro motors right in here, the bearing actually wears too much on this shaft here, right? And so it takes that material out of the shaft. You put a new bearing in it, you put new seals in it, but if you don't get a new shaft as well, it's gonna already be loose. Those tolerances are too loose, and it's gonna wobble and cause it to leak again. So really the most time effective thing, and really just the most efficient thing you could do, is just get a new hydro motor and just call it a day, right? Then you kind of have that peace of mind for another, 1,000 hours of runtime or whatever you might get out of it.
Looks like it's working. It was leaking like crazy out of here before, so this is a good sign.
This machine here has about 1,300 hours on it right now. I'm really starting to get a lot of rollers going out. That's why I've had to replace a couple recently. So around that time, 1,300 hours, expect to spend some good money on your undercarriage. Each one of these rollers, this one in the very back is a double roller, right? It's just got two little rollers there. And then the rest of these three right here are triple rollers. So they've got like 3 little riding grooves. And each one of those costs close to $200, maybe $150 or $200. So it's a lot of money when you add it all up to do everything. So I've just been kind of doing them as they come, but truly I should probably just do them all at once, just to kind of have that peace of mind. And the problem is you replace 2 of them, let's say back here, and then these are going out. Well, you're adding unnecessary stress to your brand new rollers, because you're not having even pressure on your front rollers as well. So you're prematurely probably wearing out your new rollers, which is not a great thing. So my recommendation, replace them all at once. Let's get into it here. I'm gonna clean this out, take the tension off the track, and we'll go from there. I cleaned out the first bolt that we have to take off here. William, you can come around here and look at this. 9/16 right here. This is your retainer to hold the tensioner bolt in place. So we'll take this retainer off real quick. Maybe. Sheared the end of that off. That's 9/16. Break that loose. Maybe. Whoops. All right, we got that off. Now this retainer clip comes off right here. Okay, set that aside. Okay, now we have access to adjust the track tension. However, the track is still touching the ground. We need to get this machine elevated off the ground so that we can actually work on the track. So next step, jack the machine up in the back and the front, and then we can adjust that tension. Sweet dusty with the heat even on. So we have this thing off the ground now. We jacked up the rear end first, stuck some blocks under it, and then did the front end. So we're fully free floating here. Now we can take the tension off of the track, get the track off, and then we can start to work on the rest of that stuff. Off of the track. This is a little bit non-intuitive. What would you say for that? It's a bit non-intuitive. Is that even a word? I don't know. Anyway, it's a bit backwards the way that this track tensioner works. If you go righty-tighty, you know, you tighten it, it's actually going to loosen the tension. And if you go counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, it's actually going to tension the track. So just keep that in mind as you're taking the tension off. We're actually going to turn this clockwise to the right. Are you still on my mode? Yep. Talking? All right, so right up here, this piece, you'll see it start to come back this way, right? As it starts to come back this way, it's gonna take the tension off of the track. What this does is it pushes on this front idler, and that's what puts the tension on the track. So as this comes back, this front idler is gonna be allowed to come back too, and will become a little bit looser. All right, you can go to work. Track, this piece is pretty much ran back as far as it will go. I might be able to squeeze it just a hair further, but it's a little bit rusty on that bolt past there, so I don't want it to bind up too much or whatever. But this should allow me to get this track off now. I'll see if I can do it by hand. If I can't get it by hand, we'll just start the machine, throw a pry bar in there, and run the track and kind of peel it off of the idler up here. So let's see if this works though, I guess, first. right, we got the track off. Definitely, if you're taking the track off, get a pry bar and get that front side off first and then do the back side. Just trust me, it's gonna be a lot easier. Front first, then back to take it off. When you go to put it on, back first, then the front. So kind of the reverse order of that. It's just easier that way. We now have to get this sprocket off and get to that hydro motor that's behind there to replace that hydro motor. But first, I guess we could also check all of these rollers on the bottom here. So I actually already replaced this roller here and this roller here. And if we check that, the tension's real good. There's no play in that bolt there at all through the center. Same with that one, there's no play. This one here has not been replaced, and you can see there's a little bit of play in that already. It's not totally shot, but it's getting real close. I mean, another, maybe even 2 days of running this thing all day long, it might be pretty well rounded out and shot. So yeah, this one up here, that's also starting to go out too. So that's gonna need to be replaced. This front idler up here, I need to order a new front idler too, it looks like, because there's starting to be a little bit of play in that. I probably have just another, couple of days of operation with it, and it really just needs to be replaced. So I'm gonna get away with it for the time being because I need to use it today, well, this evening and tomorrow. But I'm gonna get a new idler coming as well in a couple weeks. Once again, replace that and probably these other two triple rollers right through here. So, all right, let's get this sprocket off now. So we'll go back to time warp here and we'll take this sprocket off. We got the cotter pin out. Got to get this off. See if this comes out. Maybe. Good. Mm-hmm. Thanks. All right. Got the castle nut off. Now, this thing's gonna be a bear to get off of here. So I got a 15/16 wrench. Stick that on these bolts on the back side here. And then I've got my other wrench here for a little extra leverage. Just like that. And there she goes. So just kind of getting these loosened up and taken off. And then I'm gonna actually rotate this hydro motor so I can do the other side as well. Ooh, that's spinning it, which is probably not great for it. But it's getting replaced anyway, as long as it doesn't damage anything in the actual hydro pump area, which maybe we better block this thing up a little bit. There we go. Yeah. These things are on tight, I'll tell you what. Okay, so I got all these bolts out of here, and I should be able to take this sprocket off now. All right, when we go to put this back on, the new one, we can just do this on the bench, so that will make it a lot easier. The reason we had to take this sprocket off was so I could get my puller around this. My puller just isn't quite big enough to get around that. Maybe I could have thought harder about it and rigged something up, but it was just as easy for me to just rip those bolts out real quick. Even though you almost have to rotate this wheel for every little bolt that you do just to get access to it on this top side here. But you know, a little bit tedious, but it worked out. Now, this thing is gonna be the real pain to get off of here, right? Gonna get the puller on there, get some heat applied to this, and then smack it with a hammer, and it should come off. In fact, it might come flying off. I've had that happen before, so yeah, stay tuned. So this is a good indication of why this thing's leaking. If I grab this wheel with this shaft here, see all that play? All right, we got the puller on this here. So what this is gonna do is sort of drive force to this center shaft here, and then of course pull this outer edge, hopefully get this wheel off of this shaft. Got my little socket on there, and we're gonna start to rotate. Now, we've got to be careful here. Kind of want to steer clear because this thing could fly off at any moment. It gets a lot of tension built up on it, and when it lets loose, it really lets loose sometimes. So I'm just going to kind of clear a path just in case, and I'm not going to stand right behind it, but get a little tension on it and see how this goes. The other thing you can do, rather than just crank this thing down as tight as you can go, just get a little tension on it. Pretty solid, and then start to heat up that outer edge. And I almost could have heated it up first, and then tap it with a hammer a little bit too, and that should break whatever free. So I'm gonna probably hold up there and grab my rubber mallet. Let's just see if this works without using any heat first. So just kind of watch yourself. I don't know if that broke anything free or not. Nope. I'm gonna get a little heat going just to help it along. And then you just need to watch yourself because it could fly off there because there's still tension on that puller, right?
Explain in depth what this does.
So this right now, I'm heating the outside of this. I'm trying to keep most of the heat off of the shaft, so the heat will expand the metal on the outside and hopefully break anything loose. Like if there's anything seized on the shaft, any rust, anything like that, a lot of times this helps kind of crack it away, and with the expansion it will slide off of there easier. So heat, pressure with this puller, and then a hammer. All three of those things may be required to get this thing off of there. So I'm just going to keep heating this just for a minute. Got to heat it up a little bit. Give her a couple more cranks. Got to watch yourself a little bit once again. A lot of pressure on there right now.
Oh,
there it goes. Didn't even have to tap it, but that's what I'm talking about. It'll just fly off there when it wants to go. But heat and that puller, that did the trick. So now if we look in here a little bit closer, see that? So it's shot. Now we're gonna take these bolts off and take these two hydraulic hoses off, and then we can slap that new one in there. So we've got these two there. We need to really clean that before we take those off, just so we don't get a bunch of dirt in those lines. So so we just got the old one out, and you want to make sure that you don't get dirt into these hoses. However, the nice thing is usually there's stuff leaking out of there, so it'll push dirt out if you do get any right on the edge there. I'm gonna clean these threads up before they go into the new motor, and I like to take a little piece of shop towel, stick it in the end there, just for the time being, just to hold some of that fluid, keep it from leaking so bad while we put the other one in. And yeah, we'll do the same here. And then I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit, and then I'll throw the new one in. Okay, so we got the new motor here. Obviously we got the old motor out. I'm gonna leave these little plugs in for the time being. You really wanna keep all contaminants out of your hydraulic system. Don't get any dirt in there, so I'm gonna leave that until I get everything mounted in there and bolted up. And then I'm gonna very carefully, take out these 2 shop towel plugs there and make sure everything's clean, and then take those out and then make those hoses back on. So all right, so got the new hydro motor in, got the hoses hooked up, ready to put the sprocket back on. And the nice thing is we don't have to bolt this up while the center part is on the machine. We can just do this right here and then bolt the whole, slide the whole thing over the shaft. So we've just got to line up the holes here and start running some screws in. So this castle nut, these don't need to be torqued down super tight. That's not really what's holding that on. It just needs to be hand snug, essentially. And you need this to line up with the hole that's in the shaft so that we can get the cotter key through it. Might be okay. That's actually not too much pressure. We'll go with that. We'll do like a little bit of tightening with the wrench, but not much. It'll just keep it from having any play in that whatsoever. Got that on there. Got the castle nut on. Got the cotter key on. All I did there, I just got it mostly hand tight, and I just went just a little bit with the wrench just to get to the next slot. So there's just a little bit of pressure. It doesn't need to be overly tight or overly torqued, but that should work pretty good. Got the cotter key in there. Now it's time to test this thing and see if it rotates. So. All right. Oh, you know what? Forgot to use my nice brand new castle nut. Doesn't matter. It'll work the same, but it's nice to have a good gold-plated castle nut versus that one. So I'll use it for something else. All right. Let's get the track on here, and that's gonna be the final thing I'm gonna do for the day. This is gonna get me up and rolling. I'm gonna come back, like I said, after a while, replace a couple of these idler wheels, or this idler here, and a couple of these rollers, and that'll be it. So, finally at the point here, about to put this track on. You know, I almost wanna try it with the front idler side on first, and then see if I can sort of pry it onto that sprocket, but I may have to do it the other way. So we'll just give it a try, see how this goes. Trial and error, that's all it is.
Your front's off.
So at this point, all we have to do is retension this track, and we're gonna be rocking and rolling. So remember, now to tension the track, we actually have to go lefty-loosey. It's kind of backwards. But you'll see that track start to rise up. All right, so you really need to follow the spec on your manual with whatever machine you have to see how tight this needs to be. On this machine, they say to measure between this tensioner right here on this piece of steel up to this little slot right here with the back of this, which is the idler wheel. So 9.25 inches is the spec between those. And right now I'm at about 9 3/4. So I need to go further and tighten this thing up. Looks like we're at 9.5. Just need a little bit more. All right. Probably 2 more. And we're there. So 9 1/4. That's how you do it. It's ready to rock and roll, baby. So new track, new hydraulic motor, and eventually next week I'll show you how to replace these idlers and the rollers. So awesome. Stay tuned. All right. That's it, baby. See you next time. Why are you still recording? Maybe. Gotta get this dang thing out. There you go. All right. So, can't forget to throw the retaining clip back on the tensioner so this tension on your track doesn't come off. Slide that on there, that bolt, all right? and tighten that old girl down. All right, and that's that. All right,